How did you get started in the wrestling business?
Well, I actually tried to attempt to break in back in 2012, but I received some pretty crappy training, so I just removed myself from everything. And then I started back in October of 2016. I moved into with now my husband. He was actually working on a show called Tap, and I was more and more curious about it. So I asked him, I said, well, can you start training me more to start being more, I guess, together with everything? And so he finally started training me more and more, and then I finally broke out and grew my wings and started training more at Crux Wrestling with Carrie Awful. So I've had a blast doing that.
So as you was going through the training, I've I've interviewed a lot of women wrestlers throughout the years, and for what they told me, like they be either one of the few of the women, or if not the only woman that was being trained. Did you go through that similar experience? Was there like a few more women that you trained alongside with, or were you just like the only female?
I was actually the only female with roughly about 7 guys.
So, did some of the guys in particular, was there any hesitation on their part as far as, going through the punches and kicks, things like that? Or were you just like, just treat me like everybody else, I can take it?
It was pretty much like, if I'm going to be in this kind of business, I've got to expect to pretty much take another hit like a male would. So I told them, I said, I'm not going to be soft on you. I wouldn't expect you to be soft on me. So in order for me to be able to do my thing, they had to do theirs. So I had a prime example with this. Kerry Awful, he pretty much told me that if he's going to forearm somebody, he's going to forearm somebody. And needless to say, when he forearmed me, I stepped back a little bit, because, it knocked the breath out of me for a minute. But I took it like a champ, and I stuck with it. So, but here I am today, making my way and doing it like everybody else should.
So, do you remember the first ever match or the first appearance that you had in front of an audience in a wrestling ring? And if so, what was the scenario? What match was it? Who was your opponent? Things like that.
My first ever match was actually an intergender match. It was with Sharp Dressed Man Lawrence with Destiny's Destruction on one side, and then me and Uncle Biff was on the other side with Adam Vanderbilt III. But that was my first ever actually in the ring doing full-on moves, bumping, all that fun stuff.
So how'd you felt prior to the match, and how'd you felt like after the match ended? Did you get any input, some expertise from that debut appearance that you had?
Yes, I actually got a lot of advice from other workers as well, and not just the 4 that I had out there with me. The one that I have to actually thank the most advice for would probably be Destiny and Lawrence, and then Uncle Biff, of course, because he treats me like any other boy or man instead of a wife, which it should be like that. Because, I don't want somebody to sugarcoat something. I just want them to pretty much just throw it out there and tell me like it is. But the biggest thing that they told me that I would have to work on would be my bumping. Because I'm used to customs, and customs you don't really full-on bump. You just pretty much crumble and stuff. So that was the most advice that I had received that day, or that night, I guess you'd say.
One thing I hear so much from wrestlers is, brotherhood, sisterhood.
Yeah.
Going through the ups and downs, things like that. And it's going to happen in the wrestling business. egos clash and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like a family. Like they're here for
Exactly.
each other, and you want to see each other succeed, and you want to see the company that you work for succeed as well. You want to see fans keep coming back for more. Um,
Exactly.
so
Without the fans, where would we be?
so it's definitely very important for fans out there, or new fans, old fans, whatever you are as a wrestling fan, to support your local wrestling, support your indie wrestling companies out there. Um, you know, just check them out. At least give it one shot. See what you like and stuff. Um, you mentioned customs, and that is a nice segue. Um,
Yeah.
so you're going to be doing like custom wrestling for I think let me get this right. Liberty Pro Women's Wrestling. Um, and the guy that's in charge, I'm familiar with him. He used to be in charge of Magnificent Ladies of Women's Wrestling. Um,
Yes. He's the
and
former owner of that.
for
And the new owner of that one is Christy Sells.
so and for custom wrestling, I've been a fan of it. I purchased downloads and things like that. So, and this is when things get interesting, when fans like yourselves get to book the matches. People watch wrestling on TV or on the internet and be like, I could book a better match than that. Well, you get a chance to put your money where your mouth is, literally.
Exactly.
So, let's see what you can do. And for you've been through this, obviously. How would you describe the experience going through a match like that when it's not just a regular booker or a wrestler, it's an actual fan that's going through giving you a script of what he or she wants to see? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Customs is actually pretty fun, to be honest, because, I mean, you have some customers where they just want to just punch in match. There's some customers where they want very detailed work, and when I mean detailed, they have it pretty much for spot, or what you wear or what you say. I mean, it really changes, because, like, I had one gentleman, he ordered a custom through another company that I worked for. It was under Women's Map Wrestling, and he pretty much wanted a secretary-type match. And the lady that I did the match with, she, I was sitting on the couch and playing on my phone, and she came over to me. She smacked my phone out of my hand, and she told me that I needed to get off my butt and file these paperwork, and it was fun and energetic, I guess you would say, because, I mean, you have to have a certain nerve, I guess, because, I mean, there's some people that don't want to do anything, and to me, if somebody's paying you for something, then, well, to a certain extent anyways, then you have to do what they want in order to get paid, because if not, then you're not going to get nothing. So, but I guess each script is different,
Yeah, and I notice as far as the type of matches per se, some prefer a competitive match. Some will
Yes.
prefer a one-sided match or a squash match. I guess is a proper term when one person just gets complete control of the opponent. Some prefer like both opponents barefoot. There's going to be all types of requests and things like that. So, but I guess I understand the fan aspect to it. Like, as long as it doesn't like get too out of hand or too inappropriate, then and it's something that the wrestlers are willing to do, then make it customers happy. So
Exactly.
so pretty much. Now, who do you consider your influences as a wrestler. It could be anyone on the indie scene. It could be anyone in the pro level. Like, who do you consider your influences as a wrestler?
I would have to say Destiny, or not Destiny, but Daphne. Daphne, I love her work. I love her stream. But when it comes to bigger girl working, I would have to say between Kikyo, the Fallen Flower, or Piper. Or not Piper, but Viper, I think it is. But Kikyo, I get a lot of influence from her because she's kind of the similar bodybuilding and stuff. And there's some moves and stuff that I had never thought a woman that size would be able to do, and she completely blows me out of the water every time. Because I mean, there's a crossbody that she does that I absolutely lose my crap over. Because I mean, like I said, there's some moves where you would not think a woman that size would be able to do.
I definitely like Viper. She impressed the heck out of me in the Mae Young Classic last year. Just the way the way she moved and she was able to do certain moves. Her match with Santana Garrett, for example, that was probably one of my favorite matches in that whole tournament, outside of Kari versus Tessa. She was definitely a standout from last year's tournament, and I was hoping they'll bring her back, but you know they gotta get some people here and there. So
Right.
hopefully they'll bring her back next year. But she was very, very good, very good. Speaking of which, now obviously WWE's Women's Evolution has been going on for a couple of years now. You know, they're getting opportunities that the men be getting. And it was announced several weeks back that there's going to be the first ever all-women's pay-per-view called Evolution. So there's going to be over 50 women from past, present, and future that's going to
Goodness.
be in this event. And it's similar to all the pay-per-views up this point. It's going to be 4+ hours long. So you as a woman performing yourself and seeing where WWE was prior to the Evolution into where they are now and the direction that they're going with this, and you got Wanda Rousey that wants to get on board with all this too. Like, how do you feel as a woman performer seeing all of this unfolded, and now they get to have their very own all-women's pay-per-view event?
Well, I have to say that it excites me just for the simple fact that it used to be an all-men's sport, and so now the women are actually being able to, I guess, step out and make their shine, you know? And I think it's awesome because, I mean, that, to me, if I'm going to bust my butt and prove to myself and prove to other people and get out there, then there might be a chance, you know? But in order for that to happen, then I need to get my butt in training a lot more than what I already do now. But, I mean, anything can happen, you know?
It definitely inspires a lot of women out there. And when you are able to do that, then you getting their attention pretty much. There's so many women that wants to be in that limelight, be on that bigger stage and things like that. Now, obviously, the indie scene, they've been way ahead of the curve prior to this woman evolution. Like, there's always been so many talented women, like Kikyo, for example, and Viper, and you know, Awesome Kong, for example. You know, women of that size and being able to move the way that they do. So, you know, for WWE, you know, we can complain about their past tendencies, but what they're doing right now is fun to watch, and it makes me want to see what's the next step for that
Right.
for that division. Evolution is big, And I guess where they can go from here after Evolution, maybe quite possibly a woman's pay-per-view, not a pay-per-view, but a main event at Survivor Series or WrestleMania, dare I say. They already main evented Royal Rumble this year with that women's Royal Rumble match. So they doing big things pretty much.
I
So
mean, you can always here.
oh yeah, and they still looking. They're not just selling for the same girls. They always looking for some new faces to keep that thing going. So that's great as well. Now, why don't you go ahead and promote your upcoming shows, upcoming matches that fans need to keep an eye on?
Well, this Saturday, for a prime example, me and Uncle Biff, Travis Locke, Shannon Moore, and then Sunny Days will be at WrestleCon on Saturday. So that's a pretty big night. Bob Evans and Tim Hughes will be there as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the Boogeyman might be there as well, which I'm pretty ecstatic about that one because we had a match with Boogeyman back in July. So that was a lot of fun. In September, we will be at Kapow Wrestling. I'm not 100% sure yet who we're working, but at the moment, that's all I'm aware of, which that can change in the next 10 minutes.
So you definitely got a lot going on. The Boogeyman, I'm very familiar
Yeah.
with that. That was quite a character. Still grossed me out with the worms. I mean,
They're not that bad.
being able to do that and staying the character. I mean, what can you say? Like,
Well, at the end of our match, he had actually, because in that match I won over because I won. What had happened is Uncle Biff had Vader bombed me in the turnbuckle, and I took a face bump on top of him. And then the ref raised my hand, and I fell over, and next thing you know, the Boogeyman spitting worms all over my face and in my mouth, and it was different.
whew, you got guts. I'll tell you that much. Anyone that will be in your situation would have just vomit by the time they go to the nearest restroom, And I'll never forget the time that the Boogeyman took a bite out of Jillian Hall's face. I mean,
Oh, goodness.
Whew. That's just one of those visions that you can't get out of your mind. And that was like so long ago. And before I let you go, why don't you go ahead, promote your social media feeds that people can get in touch with you on?
Well, I'm under Hannah Byford on Facebook. If you look up Lee Byford, which is Uncle Biff, so if you want to book one of us, you want to book him, you want to book me, just message me on Facebook, and hopefully we can do some business.
It was great chatting with you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I enjoyed the conversation that we had, and I will keep an eye on those custom shoots, because I've always wanted to, come up with a script. I just can't figure out, what direction when I want to go. On one end, I want to be competitive. On one end, then I want to go one-sided. I don't know what direction I want to go per se, but I've been thinking about it for quite some time now.
I would order from Imlo and put me against Destiny, just for the simple fact that we're both bigger women, and I think it would be a lot of fun, and I think it would be fun for you to be watching it.
I will definitely keep that in mind for sure. Thank you so much again for your time. Continued success. you enjoy the rest of your evening and your upcoming weekend.
Thank you, and I appreciate for you to let me be on the radio with you.
Absolutely. You have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.